Welcome to D Lux Life, and today we bring you the list of the biggest financial mistakes made by Donald Trump. So let's delve into Trumponomics. Donald John Trump is the 45th and current president of the United States, known for his eccentric character and strong political views. Before entering politics, he was a businessman and a television personality. Now, you may be surprised to know that Trump and his businesses have been involved in more than 4,000 state and federal legal actions. This includes 6 bankruptcies. These figures show that while Donald Trump may be a seasoned businessman, he has made some huge fiscal mistakes in the past. Well, this particular video covers Trump's tenure as the President of the United States and the financial blunders he made during his term. It suffices to say that Americans at large did suffer from these mistakes. We are kicking this video off by discussing the economy of the United States over the past decades. The economy of the US experienced a boost in the post-World War II years. Later on, America experienced another economic boom in the late 1960s and the late 1990s. In those years, growth approached 4% a year. Even in several quarters of the Obama years, the economy progressed at a faster rate. However, GDP growth after the first calendar quarter of 2019 hovered around an anemic annual rate of 2%. In fact, during Trump's presidency, there was only one moderately strong year of growth, that is, 2018. Even then, the growth rate barely surpassed 3%. Thus, it can be seen that there has not been any exponential increase in growth during the Trump years. What is the reason for this? Actually, there can be multiple factors which may be attributed to this lack of economic growth. Let's see what financial mistakes made by Trump cost the US, GDP, and the public. A significant issue in this regard is that of the federal debt. Trump's overall contribution to the national debt for the bills he has signed into law is projected to top $4.1 trillion. This figure has been quoted by the Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. Before we continue, remember to subscribe to D Lux Life and click the bell icon to get regular updates on our latest uploads. Also, if you like this video, click the like button and share it with your friends. Some of you may remember that as a presidential candidate in 2016, Donald Trump claimed that he could completely eliminate the federal debt in 8 years. However, that claim did not come to fruition. Instead, the US federal debt has exploded exponentially. This is said to be due to Trump and the GOP's $1.9 trillion tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations. The tax cut measure by Trump turned out to be a huge failure. Let's analyze it by looking at its impact. The main reason given for corporate tax cuts is that they are supposed to fuel growth by stimulating business investment. However, if there's no consequent rise in investments, it can be safe to assume that the policy probably is not having much of an effect. A 2019 analysis by the International Monetary Fund and a 2019 study by the Congressional Research Service found that the investment growth barely accelerated in response to Trump's 2017 reforms. These reports are disappointing news for the US citizens who were promised an economic boost as a result of the aforementioned tax cuts. The Trump administration previously asserted that corporations would invest their savings from tax cuts, which would facilitate the financial sector. Instead, these corporations spent more money buying back shares of their own stock in 2018 than what they invested in new equipment or facilities. These stock buybacks provided no real benefit for the economy and rather boosted executive bonuses and payouts for the already wealthy investors. Thus, this policy by Trump can be termed as a big financial failure. Moving further on Trump's taxing policies, it is essential to discuss their implications on other sectors. Donald Trump promised that he would keep jobs in America. In fact, a huge portion of his 2016 presidential campaign was dedicated to the dilemma of immigrants stealing American jobs. Moreover, Trump stated that he would crack down on companies that ship jobs overseas. However, things unfolded in the opposite direction as a result of his tax law. The new policy created financial incentives for corporations to expand their operations abroad. As a result, many jobs have been moved abroad, creating adverse implications for not only the US citizens, but the economy as a whole. Another reason for companies like Harley-Davidson moving their production overseas are Trump's trade wars. The unfavorable political and economic climate generated due to the stringent foreign trade policies is financially costing USA. On top of that, Trump's tariffs on China have backfired. China reduced the value of the yuan 10% this year, and its trade surplus with the United States has increased 10% over the same period last year, even faster than the overall US good trade deficit, which is up 9.4% in the same period. The IMF projects that the overall U.S. current account deficit, that is, the broadest measure of trade in goods, services, and income, will nearly double over the next 4 years. This financial mistake would definitely not bode well for the U.S. economy. It might be time for U.S. to reconsider its trade relations with the Asian superpower. Moreover, Trump's vindictive tariffs have not worked to raise American incomes either. Almost all economic analysts have calculated that it was American consumers and not China who paid for tariffs on Chinese goods. A JP Morgan report from 2019 predicted that the tariffs would cost American families $1,000 per year, while a NBER working paper written by economists at the New York Federal Reserve found that almost 100% of import taxes were borne by U.S. consumers. To make matters worse, the Phase 1 deal struck between China and Trump administration to end the trade war meant that the president actually surrendered the supposed aims of the trade war. It is also imperative to discuss the consequence of Trump's administration's policies on Social Security programs in the United States. The Trump government has been using the growing federal debt as an excuse to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Trump wants to reduce access or even eliminate Obamacare without any serious alternative, at a time when more than 9 million workers have lost their employer-provided health insurance. Millions of employees more stand to lose their health coverage in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. It is quite unfortunate that Donald Trump is making another financial mistake in order to remedy the effects of his former fiscal blunders. If individual Americans are not rescued by the government, there is a huge chance of the country further suffering economically. The last financial mistake we are going to discuss is the failure of the Trump administration to take the coronavirus crisis seriously. The government's inadequate framework of dealing with the virus has had incredibly adverse consequences on the country. Many sectors had to shut down, and economic activities in many parts of the U.S. have come to a screeching halt. The failure to implement a speedy response to keep people employed, whether through supporting small businesses, preventing state and local job cuts, or maintaining workers' connections to payrolls, has resulted in millions of layoffs that may have otherwise been avoided. As a result, the United States is experiencing far higher unemployment levels than other developed nations. The continued casual attitude of the Trump administration could push U.S. into a deeper economic fallout. Even as the United States approaches a 20% unemployment rate and suffers the highest COVID-19 related death toll in the world, President Trump continues to downplay the critical nature of the pandemic. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office has projected that the GDP in the United States is expected to contract at an annualized rate of 40% in the second quarter of 2020 and 5.6% for the year overall. This is alarming for the country. While an economic recession was perhaps inevitable as a result of the pandemic, Trump's ineffective policies have made the U.S. recession significantly longer and deeper than necessary. During a time of widespread economic suffering, with the chances of unemployment rate rising above an alarming 25%, Trump is still failing to provide a concrete solution or policy. He is yet to invest in infrastructure as promised by him. It should be kept in mind that investment in infrastructure is the key to supporting future economic growth and better wages. His current plans actually involve cuts to infrastructure spending in the long run. Net public investment still sits well below 1% of GDP, suggesting there is a strong need for increased public expenditures that support infrastructure investment. There you have it, a quick summary of the biggest financial mistakes made by Donald Trump during his presidency. Trump needs to come up with a solid plan aimed at rectifying these errors if he wants another shot at presidency. If you like this video, make sure you share this with your friends and subscribe to D Lux Life and click the bell icon to get regular updates. D Lux Life. Find what calls to you.